I talked about how successful her film was. This is a book, The Films of Barbra Streisand. Now, isn't that an original title? I'm only kidding. Not very original at all, but it's exactly what it is. It's only her films, like all these books here, are the films of. Okay, and I'm going to comment on some. Okay, we've commented on Funny Girl, Hello Dolly, On a Clear Day. The album The Pussycat, very interesting in her career. It was a comedy without music. Nobody really thought of Barbra Streisand without being a singer at that time. On purpose, she wanted to do a non-musical. It's a great film with George Segal. Kind of interesting in one of a scene where she's very angry. She keeps calling George a faggot. What are you, a faggot? As if that's the worst thing. I wonder if she thinks about that now, with the gay following she has. Even without a gay following, it was very mean-spirited. But of course it was at the time. We're talking about the mid-'60s. This was before the coming out years, which were really after Stonewall, which was after Judy Garland's death. Keep coming back. I just can't help myself coming back to Judy. It's very interesting seeing the Alan the Pussycat. And one famous story is she did do a nude scene. It's funny, in the late 60s and the early 70s, they would have these nude scenes because you could show breasts. So a lot of these films, you see breasts, but it's ridiculous because there's really no reason. It's just these directors could show breasts and they thought, oh, well, I have to be contemporary, so I have to show breasts. What movie? Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice. There is no reason why you had to show breasts in that. An excellent movie from the late 60s. And here you have your little breasts. Okay, but Barbra, she would do it under the stipulation that she would have to okay the scene, and she didn't. So we haven't seen Barbra Streisand's boobs. Okay, wow. The Way We Were was right after Up the Sandbox. Up the Sandbox, she acts fantastically. An awful picture. It goes between reality and dreams, and you can't tell which is reality and dreams, but she gives a really natural performance. You wouldn't think Barbra Streisand could just be natural, and she is. And for that reason, you'd want to see that film. Okay. Then we have The Way We Were. Talked about that. Great film. Great film. Then For Pete's Sake. Now, For Pete's Sake is another one of her comedies. It's one of my favorite films. It wasn't one of her big successes. But again, she's like doing... Barbra Streisand as a comedian she's so gifted, and she's doing slapstick in this picture. And she's great in it. With Michael Sarrazin, who was very big at that time. It wasn't a musical, though she does the opening, the title song. So, all right. So, For Pete's Sake, wonderful comedy. All right, then we have Funny Lady. Barbra Streisand did not want to do it. And supposedly she was really getting into a relationship with John Peters, and she was thinking of Yentl a lot. And people have spoken where she wasn't as present during this movie. And the movie isn't very good. In fact, I would say it's probably one of her worst movies. Most sequels stink, right? Well, this did. Well, but of course, you have those musical numbers, but her big number in that was called It's Gonna Be a Great Day. It was the big production number. And she's like on this pedestal, and all these black dancers, like 30 of them, it's almost like they're worshiping her. I don't like it at all. The arrangement is way too overblown. So, it's funny, when I say, probably my least movie I liked of Barbra Streisand is Funny Lady, that probably means I've seen it, without exaggeration, 10 times since it's come out. Kind of funny. Because there's always something in all of Barbra Streisand's movies that you can get out of. Okay, then after Funny Lady comes A Star Is Born. Well, A Star Is Born was very, very successful. It was a production where everybody was pissed at everybody else. The director actually, and I believe his last name was Pearson, wrote an article about what terrible people Barbra and John Peters were. Before the movie came out, Chris Christopherson pretty much bad-mouthed the movie from day one. Almost got into a fist fight with John Peters. But since then, Chris Christopherson has said, obviously this is my best performance. And after he saw himself, he said, I was playing myself, and that's when he got sober. So that's really good. And the scene she did with Chris Christopherson was evergreen. And he's croaking. Really, his voice wasn't that bad. I don't know why it's so bad on that. Of course, Barbra's perfect, and she's singing live. That's where she has that long note. talking about extending notes, Barbra just kept going. It's like for minutes. Boy, it's really something. Okay. Of course, I like Judy's production of A Star is Born much better than Barbra's. But you have to give Barbra credit for doing it. She puts a feminist slant on it. And at that time, she should have. Which is okay. And of course, then we can talk about Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Oh my God, we have Judy Garland, Barbra Streisand, Lady Gaga, 3 such talented people playing this role of, I don't even know if Lady Gaga, she called herself Esther Hoffman before. Or it was Esther Blodgett. Well, let's see, Esther Blodgett with Judy, Esther Hoffman was Barbra, and I'm not sure of Lady Gaga. I've only seen that movie 2 times. Very impressed, though. And it's not that, anything that brings attention to Judy Garland I love. So it's not that I'm mad that people may be talking about or comparing Bradley Cooper's A Star is Born to Judy Garland's. No, it's because it brings Judy back in the forefront. Just like Renee Zellweger now is doing a movie on Judy Garland's last years. That's going to be very interesting to see because her last years are pathetic, sad. Well, and Renee Zellweger actually uses her voice. Now, Judy Garland's voice in those last years was nothing that she really needed to use her own voice. Luckily, though, in the Me and My Shadows, the Lorna Luft produced biography, movie biography, TV biography, she does use her own singing. That's good, but sorry, we're getting away from Barbra. Let's get back into some of the movies here. Okay, so then we have the main event. Very successful, right? All night long. God, why? Barbra, why did you... She plays a dumb blonde. All right, number one, why playing a dumb blonde? Why would she want to do that? Of course, the dumb blonde with intelligence. Boy, it was Gene Hackman's movie. Sweet, but I've said already too much about that movie. Okay, Yentl came after that. Then Nuts came after that. One of the few movies where she de-glamorizes herself. Of course, she had to have the scene because she's playing a hooker where, she's all glamorous before she kills, their potential John. Isn't that? It's just a wonderful movie. It's full of humor. I'm only kidding. It's very serious. She is great in it. She is great in it. You don't expect Barbra to be serious and sloppy. I don't think she thought of herself that way. Remember, she wanted to be the glamour queen. That was her thing. All right, but she does this movie very well. All right? But if you're looking for glamour and music, you're not going to see it in Nuts. All right, Prince of Tides. Whoa! Boy, Nick Nolte, who was such a great actor, probably his best role. It's funny, Robert Redford, who also did some wonderful roles, probably The Way We Were was the best. All right, Nick Nolte was great. He really carries the movie. And of course, Barbra, got to be the leading lady, beautiful. Boy, what a performance. What great, all of the performances are great. It is a fantastic movie. Very disturbing. Not for young children at all. There's a rape scene. Boy, Barbra is really a great director. Like the old directors, they couldn't show making love, certainly not rape. So, like somebody like Alfred Hitchcock would have to do something where you knew they slept together that night. Or, not even talking about the rape. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the rape because of The Prince of Tides, but there were no rape scenes in Alfred Hitchcock movies. But you knew, like, the morning scenes of what happened at night. She has this rape scene. You don't see it, really, you don't. And yet it is so disturbing, very disturbing. Now when I watch that movie, I just fast forward it. There is no reason why I have to watch it. It's just too disturbing for me. But that's to Barbra Streisand's credit that she could do something like that. And it was very important for the movie. Really great movie. Okay. Then The Mirror Has Two Faces, which was her last. Now I can put this down. The Mirror Has Two Faces. All right. Now I'm giving you my opinion of it, even though other people may agree. She was easily 10, 20 years too old for it. she, unfortunately, this is The Mirror Has Two Faces, where she is this plain woman who meets this very attractive man who loves her for herself, who falls in love with her, but she doesn't quite get that, so she kind of beautifies herself. But in the first, before she beautifies herself in the Barbra we know, and of course she's gorgeous and everything, you know, she also has great legs, right? You know, the lady had a great body. Her skin was like porcelain, you know, hair. She's a very attractive woman to this day, right? She's really attractive. Okay, you know, before she glamorized herself, she's really not that unattractive in the opening scenes. And she's too intelligent in the opening scenes. So, all right, she's dressing very frumpy. I'll give her that credit. But she really doesn't physically look all that bad. And she's very bright. So when she glamorizes herself, there's like a real shallowness to it, which is supposed to be a part of it. But it's funny, Barbra, who gave herself only gorgeous leading men in her movies, and I believe in most of her movies there's always a leading man. The top people, James Caan, funny lady. We have Robert Redford. She gives herself in this movie, Pierce Brosnan, who, all right, very attractive, and Jeff Bridges, very attractive. So she even gives herself two in this movie. Well, this is a movie that Lauren Bacall is in. Now, of course, I'm very familiar with Lauren Bacall's career because that's, you know, in the time that I really love. Oh, she's so good. She really is. Funny, very funny. Barbra kind of gets into the relationship she had with her mother. It's very good. The movie is very entertaining, but it misses on many levels. Right? See, where Yentl didn't, I thought The Mirror Has Two Faces kind of did. So what does that mean to me? Well, I've only seen that movie maybe 10 times. So you can imagine when I saw the movie In and Out with Kevin Kline, which the running joke was, you know, he's gay, but he doesn't know it, and he comes out and realizes it for himself in the duration of the movie. Which Debbie Reynolds is playing the mother, who was hysterical in it. It's a very great movie. But this thing of him knowing Barbra Streisand's career is so funny to me. It is all Barbra Streisand's fan will find it hilarious. And she must have been on the floor. How he argues these nuances about Barbra Streisand that I totally understood. Every little nuance he did. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so The Mirror Has Two Faces was her last pictures, but thank God she signed for the Fockers, right, where she's playing Ben Stiller's mother, the Jewish mother again, right? See, this is something that, of course, she should play this. Who else should? She should. And she is great in it with Dustin Hoffman as her husband, and he is so funny. Dustin Hoffman, who's so talented, right? You know, he could do it all. But, you know, he's not really known for his comedies. He's hysterical in this. Of course, Robert De Niro's in it, too. It's really Robert De Niro's movie. That and the Meet the Fockers, the sequel to it. It's really his movie. But, oh, God, we just love Barbra in it. She's hysterical. And then also she did The Guilt Trip with Seth Rogen, where she plays this Jewish mother. Now, I have to tell you, I don't understand why the movie was bad. I want both of them. He was perfect for the part. She is perfect for the part. I would have to fault the director in this because it's not funny and it should have been hysterical, which makes me think that it's the direction. Again, the performances are great. Barbra Streisand was born to play this kind of a mother, and yet it doesn't work. So how about refilming that? And let's see if we can do it better with maybe, I don't know, one of the Coen brothers. Maybe even make it a little bizarre. Okay, now, in the past few years, there's been talk about her doing Gypsy. Well, it didn't happen. And unfortunately, a zillion films that people wanted her to do or she wanted to do didn't come. She's a perfectionist. She doesn't do things like that. That's why it's so surprising that she did The Fockers. Because it's not her film. She's just a wonderful co-star. Oh, she's just great in it. But of course, it's not, you know, those movies are Ben Stiller movies, and they're very popular. I'm sure, you know, one of the most successful of Ben Stiller movies, who's had a wonderful career. Okay, so where are we now with Barbra? I want to say Babs, but I think this is something People do not call Barbra Streisand, her friends do not call her Babs. You know, with Elizabeth Taylor too, her friends never called her Liz. That was just for the press. She was always Elizabeth, and she hated being called Liz. Maybe she hated being called Liz because it reminded her of the press, which was different from the person that she was, of course. Okay, Barbra is doing a bunch of concerts again. Thank God. This is somebody who should be singing. This is her talent. She should be singing. She missed all those years when she was doing her movies, but it's good she came. Even if she says she hates doing them, thank God she's doing them now. All right. Now, all this stuff that I say, you can see on YouTube, or you can buy the videos. This isn't something you're just listening, wondering, oh, it must have been nice to see those things. No, you can see them all. Of course, I'm one of many Barbra Streisand fans, and I am proud. Okay, so obviously you see those Barbra Streisand albums that I have. Of course, I have every one, because collectors have to have every one. You know, God forbid there's a gap in any of our collections. I think she did 65 albums. That's counting the soundtracks. 65. Now, how can you do 65 in a lifetime? Well, I'm going to tell you, and this is something that is so different of what happens today. She would do maybe 2, 3 albums a year for many years. You know those classic Capitol albums of Frank Sinatra? Only the Lonely, Swingin' Sinatra, In the Wee Small Hours of the Night. They are considered classics now. 3 albums a year. These were not done one and then a few years passed. So when you're into the older singers, you really can get a lot of their music. Same with Aretha Franklin, since we've talked about her before. She had like 2 or 3 albums a year in the late 60s, early 70s. Today, you know, I think of a singer who I love, who has a wonderful Broadway voice, but she's just a great singer and everybody knows it. It's Jennifer Hudson. Has she even done 1 CD now? I mean, really, just 1? It's just so odd that fans can't listen to their music as much as we could. God, back, you know, think of the old record players. We could actually stack the albums. There was a lot of music. So, I have a lot of music I can listen to with Barbra. Okay, now, you see the picture of the albums that I put out in my living room. But on top of that, and you're going to see this too, is a poster of the Broadway album. It's a wonderful photograph, all right, and it's very large. It was actually in a bookstore on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was a promotional thing. And I saw it, and I knew that I needed to have it. And I went and I said, I want to buy it. And they go, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. Well, I kind of live close to Hollywood Boulevard. So I'd go in, you know, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every week, and just say, hi, you want to sell me this? Hi, you want to sell me this? I just knew I was going to own it, even though it's promotional. Get the hell out of here. Okay, so the last time I went, which was maybe the 50th time, he goes, oh, just give me $100 and get out of here. Now, $100 was not very cheap. You know, this was, what, at least 20 years ago. But I got it, and it's up there. This is kind of a funny thing. I always thought how embarrassed I'd be, not if Barbra Streisand was in here, but her son, Jason. You know, like, let's say we met at a party and we hit it off on who knows why. And he just comes, you know, back here to, you know, he's a friend now. I was always paranoid that he'd come over and he'd see this gigantic poster of his mother framed in my living room, and it would have made me very embarrassed. Well, chances are, at this stage, I'm not going to be meeting him, and I don't think Barbra's going to be coming to my condo anytime soon, so I get to have that there and love it, because it is a wonderful photograph. It's truly my favorite album cover. So, thanks for watching, folks. Take care.